Hello, and welcome back to Professor Penn's Pony Perusal Programs podcast. Now, today we're going to be discussing something related to our topic last time. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the nature of magic and how it relates to the rough estimation of the power of various characters. At the end of Season 4, we've seen that T-Rex had absorbed the power of all the ponies in Equestria. We find that he is on equal footing with Twilight, who has assimilated the power of all known alicorns. Now, in a previous season, we saw that Queen Chrysalis was able to defeat Celestia with her level of power, which has led to some speculation that her power is roughly equivalent to about a fourth of the combined power of every single pony in Equestria. Now, there's some evidence to support this and some to refute it. Let's start with what supports it. The most obvious information we have is, yes, in a straight up brute force comparison of power, she was more powerful than Celestia at that particular moment. In addition to this, we also have to factor into the fact that T-Rex also had the power of Discord at the time, so really it would even equate to more than one-fourth of all the ponies in Equestria. However, there are a few things that I believe kind of shoot this theory in the foot, or hoof as it were. This theory makes a couple of assumptions. For one, that there is a direct 1-to-1 ratio when he converts the power into his own. When he steals the power, there's every possibility that the power stolen is not as potent as it once was originally. Now, there isn't really anything to support or deny this, but it's mostly just speculation. However, it is something important to keep in mind. Now, to me, the biggest thing to refute this is that Queen Chrysalis was at the time more powerful than she normally would be, thanks to her gorging on the power of love for an indeterminate amount of time. There is some evidence to support this, of course. After she beats Celestia, you'll notice she looks pretty surprised that she just did so, or at least surprised that she did so easily. Now, this would indicate that the amount of power she had access to at the time was well beyond what she normally had. We're also making the assumption that magic is magic. It's possible that there's different types, or that there's different energy sources. It could also be that while what she's doing is referred to as magic, it is not the same magic. Here are the three basic possibilities that we have for how her power might be the same or differ from Celestia's. First, we have the obvious. It's not. Basically, what she is doing is essentially the same type of magic, using the same kind of mechanism as what Celestia is using. The only difference is Celestia is using her normal innate power, as well as Queen Chrysalis. The difference being that Chrysalis was using power that was enhanced, not unlike what Celestia might use when she was wielding the elements of harmony. Anyone who's played an RPG before understands this basic principle. Essentially, the added quote-unquote love is just enhancing her pre-existing power. It's a straightforward buff. The other possibility is essentially the opposite of this, where previously we had a straightforward magical power, which then had something placed onto it in order to make it more powerful. It could be that the love was less a buff and more of the basic source of her capabilities, meaning the magic spell itself was the same between the two of them, but the difference being that they come from different sources, where Celestia's could be any number of things, perhaps some sort of like internal process, or perhaps something that comes from food, since it seems to be demonstrating a need to feed when it comes to the changelings. What it would mean is, for Chrysalis, she was using the power which she received to basically she had more energy to feed into her spell, and that's why it was more powerful. The final possibility is that what they were doing might have similar effects, but otherwise was pretty much completely different. While both would be called magic, the magic that Chrysalis uses is inherently different than the type that Celestia or other unicorns use. Now, you might be asking yourself, so what? If it looks the same, if it performs the same basic function, what difference does it make whether or not this magic is different than any other kind of magic we have seen so far? Because it means we are comparing apples to oranges here. If the magic is different, if it's not the same thing that these two are using, it means they are not directly comparable. The magic Chrysalis is using might be better at straight up offensive abilities. It might be better against other forms of magic. It might be just particularly good against Celestia's magic. Any number of reasons could be why it was unusually effective, even if her combined strength isn't that potent. Of course, all these are potential answers. There is no real right or wrong. It's all a matter of what you can draw from what we have seen. Now, me personally, what do I think? I think it was a bit of a mix. Now, I do believe that the amount of power boost that she was getting from the love energy, or whatever you would like to call it, fueling her attack definitely made it far more powerful than it normally would. But even taking that aside, her magic functions inherently differently and is much more reliant on the emotional state of others and what exactly she is using her powers against. This would answer the last remaining question. If she was able to take out Celestia, why wasn't Shining Armor and Cadence able to repel her? The answer would be because what they were fighting her with was an inherently different type of magic, or to be more exact, it was not the exact same attack that was being used. It was not only fueled by their own mutual love, but that same love that she was previously feeding off of. And for this reason, Chrysalis's power was not as effective as it normally would be, or at least it was not as effective as it was against Celestia. In the end, it simply isn't all that well explained. We still have a lot of unanswered questions about the particular nature of magic, and it's all up to interpretation. Please post your own comments, thoughts, and opinions on the topic in the comments. Thus concludes the Professor Penn Pony Perusal Program podcast number 2. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in and listening to my thoughts on the particular nature of magic on the series, as well as a special thanks to David for his patronage. If you too would like to contribute to Professor Penn's Pony Perusal Program, please click on the Patreon link below. Thanks every pony for listening, and see you next time.